Hello, YouTube. It's me, John Avenger, once again, and welcome back to my reviews on my channel, Directors Appreciation Month. And this one, we're getting to one of the biggest directors, one of my childhood directors, a director that I've seen a lot of his work, some of the best things of all time, and that is Steven Spielberg. Yeah, This is not one of his recent films. It's an old film. The first film I ever saw in theaters that I remember, 1991's Hook. Yes, that's right. The live action adaptation of the beloved fairy tale. And it was the non Disney version. This was a big budget, really well cast fantasy adventure from 1991. And I know people say this is one of his weakest films, but it's one of my favorites because I grew up with this movie and I saw this in theaters when I was a kid. So, and if you haven't seen this movie, I would advise seeing it because if Disney remakes Peter Pan, it won't be the same. Trust me. The last Pan movie was garbage in 2015. So this is a good adaptation of the story. It's written by James V. Hart and Malia Scotch Marmo. I never heard of them. And there's a lot of actors in this movie that we lost, so bear with me. First is you have Robin Williams. May he rest in peace. I miss you, Robin, as Peter Banning, Peter Pan, who has 3 days to learn how to fly when he goes back to Neverland and he forgot all about who he was when he was a kid, and he has his own kids now, and they have to teach him, to be Peter Pan again. And it's just a heartwarming story. I love John Williams' score in this movie. It's whimsical, it's beautiful. It brings me back to my childhood when I was a kid. And look, I grew up. You also have a brilliant, one of the best Captain Hooks I've ever seen, besides Hans Conroy as the voice of Captain Hook in the 50s Disney version. You have Dustin Hoffman. Oh man, this guy still can act. I know there were allegations about him, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 90s Dustin Hoffman. This man can act. I didn't even know it was him. Like, it doesn't look like him until like there's a scene where he loses his wig at the end, but I'll get to that. It's a brilliant performance. Great British accent. A lot of menacing. His laughter is so contagious. Ah ha! Ah ha! Ah ha! Ha, ha. He has a great laugh, man. What an Oscar-winning performance. There's a lot of Oscar winners in this movie. You have Julia Roberts, aka the actress that looks like my mom. I know she was very depressed during this time, but I still love her performance as Tinkerbell. A Tinkerbell that talks and is sassy and wants Peter. When she grows into a bigger fairy. I miss her too. I mean, she's still alive, but I want to see more of her in film. You have also another great late actor, Bob Hoskins. May he rest in peace as well as Mr. Smee. He's brilliant. I didn't know, this is one of the first movies I saw with him. And he keeps his accent this time, which is fine. I do miss him a lot. And you have Maggie Smith as Granny Wendy. Yes, that's right, millennials. The old lady that was in the Harry Potter movies. I don't remember her name, but you can tell me in the comments. I remember her here first. Here and in Clash of the Titans, the original. She's really good. A really gripping performance, very compelling. This Wendy tells about, her past a lot when she was a girl and how she met Peter. You have a cameo from Gwyneth Paltrow in an early role before she was in the MCU. And yeah, it focuses on adult Peter and who has forgotten all about his childhood. I know I said that. In his new life, he's known as Peter Banning, a successful but unimaginative and workaholic lawyer with a wife that drinks and two kids. However, when Captain Hook, the enemy of his past, kidnaps his children, he returns to Neverland to save them. Although the journey, he reclaims his memories of his past and becomes a better person. It's great. There's a lot of flashbacks in this movie, but unlike a DC movie, it's coherent. One major problem I have with this movie, besides that Kathleen Kennedy produced it, you're still not off the hook. You still suck as a person. And also, the movie's a little bit too long. It's 2 hours and 42 minutes. Well, no, 2 hours and 22 minutes. I'm not kidding, guys. This movie is the same running time as The Rise of Skywalker. Another movie that I hate with a passion. Don't ask me to review that. I am never reviewing that on this channel. I want to keep my sanity after all that's happened with the lockdown. This movie's too long. Even as a kid, I said, wow, this movie's very long. There's a lot of stuff in the middle of the movie. There's a lot of buildup for before he gets to Neverland. He doesn't get to Neverland until like about 30 or 40 minutes into the movie. So you got to wait until Hook steals his children. There's a lot of scenes in England. I don't want to sound racist, but There's way too many scenes in England in the beginning of the movie because his wife is from England, but it just goes on and on. There's a baseball game with Zach with his son Jack that it doesn't come back until like halfway through the movie when Hook does a baseball game for him in Neverland with the pirates. Pirates are cool, but it's just it drags. Like there's a lot of drag in the middle of the film. There's more development with the Lost Boys. I'll get to one of them specifically because he's my friend on Facebook. You have Thud Bud and you have Donuts and you have Rufio. Yeah, another really good performance by what's his face Dante Basco. Yes. Zuko from the original Avatar: The Last Airbender. He's a great voice actor now. I love him. I It sucks that he dies in this movie. Yeah, a spoiler alert if you haven't seen Hook. Yeah, Rufio is one of the only Lost Boys to get killed in this movie, but he does a great performance. Like I didn't know what a great voice actor he would become later in the '90s and the 2000s. Great guy. I hope I made him. You have Phil Collins in a cameo as Inspector Good. You have Toodles. Who plays Toodles? I like his performance. He's very cheerful. He snaps and then he's like, Hook, 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 Hook. Yeah, there's some overacting, but I love the way Spielberg directs actors. Like he knows how to get good actors. I mean, the guy can still direct, even though his movies are not as good as they used to be. But yeah, yeah, you have Pockets. Isaiah Robinson, he plays Pockets. Rashawn Hammond as Stud Bud, he's still alive. No, Toodles is Arthur Mallet. He also passed away, but that was recently. It was in 2013. He was 85. He was an English actor, but I do miss him. But the one I want to talk about is Thomas Tulik as Two Smalls. He recently rewatched this movie on Blu-ray on 4K when it came out last year, and it's like, wow, I was a kid actor and I couldn't act. No, I'm going to give you credit, Thomas. You did a big budget movie with Robin Williams. That must have been a dream come true at that age. I was a kid. I loved his voice in Aladdin and in the Aladdin sequel, Aladdin and the King of Thieves, and in Fern Gully. I miss him so much. And you were a very cute kid. And I don't know how old you were, but I was 6 when this came out. 6 in 1991. It was a year after Home Alone, and I love seeing you in the movie. You're very you're on point. You were a kid, so I'm not going to be like, oh my god, he's worse than Jake Lloyd. No, I think it's better. I mean, you grew up into a nice young man, and now you're married. I'm very happy for you. I'm glad to be your friend on Facebook. I just love sharing this movie because this movie was a huge part of my childhood. If I met you in person, I would ask you to sign a DVD or Blu-ray of it because I love this movie, guys. The nostalgia just kicks me every time I see Robin Williams. I'm like, that's my live action Peter Pan. Nothing Disney can do now can ever replace that. I love the animated version that Disney did in the 50s because of the colors and the beautiful, songs and the whimsical nature of the film. And it's one of the few British things I like from my childhood. That, Alice in Wonderland, etc. Um, and I prefer it over Harry Potter. It's one story; it doesn't go on too long, and it does things for me anyway. You also have a lot of cameos here. You have David Crosby and Jimmy Buffett, musicians in it, as I think they're pirates. Glenn Close, yeah, is in this movie. Glenn Close is one of the pirates with makeup and a beard. She dresses up as a man. It's not a transgender thing. It's just her in that. You have Tony Burton, he's one of the black pirates there. It's good to have diversity. It's not a diversity hire. You also have two major Star Wars associates. George Lucas and Carrie Fisher play the kissing couple sprinkled with pixie dust. Again, I miss both of their work. Rest in peace, Carrie. I know she's an uncredited writer here. I miss you like crazy. No one will ever replace you. If there was one good thing that came out of that rehash trilogy is you returned. I wish you had done more, but you returned and we love you and we miss you. And their loving memory, The Last Jedi, that's the only good thing that it did. It gave her a wonderful send off at the end. Credits saying we miss you, a loving memory of our princess Leia Carrie Fisher. Yeah, we miss you, Carrie. I don't know what I would do without you. Without you, I would have never loved Star Wars in the first place or women in the franchise. You have yeah. There's a lot of people here too. And the reception this got, I don't understand. You know, the I don't understand why the critics were so harsh on this movie. It's a whimsical, funny, very imaginative film. This is the synopsis of Rotten Tomatoes. The look of Hook is lively indeed, but Steven Spielberg directs on autopilot here, giving it too quickly to his sentimental, syrupy qualities. Again, this is a movie for kids. That John Williams score, tell me you don't feel something when you hear that, especially during the baseball game when Jack hits the ball and you go dun, 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 dun. It's just atmospheric, man. Williams can make any movie atmospheric. Even yes, even the Rehash trilogy, while it was the weakest of all the scores he has ever done with recent big blockbusters, that man's music can still make me move, even though it's not the London Symphony Orchestra, which he needed that in the Rehash trilogy to make it sound. So there's some jokes in the movie that don't work. Like I'm a lawyer, and then they try to kill him. The Lost Boys because they don't know who it is, and he's like, I'm not that kind of lawyer, okay. And there's a couple of like slapstick humor in it. There's a food fight in the middle of the movie where they're gonna have food, and Peter's like, but there's nothing here. Gandhi ate more than this. There's some dated references. He has a cell phone, but it's not an iPhone. It's like one of those clipper phones from back in the '90s. That's kind of dated, but the movie's whimsical, guys. I love this movie so much. Thomas Tulik, I'm glad that he's still alive. That he was one of the Lost Boys. He says, I remember the line, and I quote, he's like, who do I look after? And he's like, never bugs, little ones. And also, there's another scene where he's like, welcome back to Neverland, Panda Man. Yeah, exactly. I like that. It makes me smile. Excuse me for having a childhood that didn't suck. And I bet Thomas Tulik didn't have one either, because I'm like, because he's in one of the biggest movies of 1991. This movie made a lot of money, right? Uh, let's see, box office. Blah, 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 blah. It was the second highest grossing film, the sixth highest grossing film in 1991, and the fourth highest grossing worldwide. It made 181 million, 119 million, and this is in 1991. So now that would be like 300 million now. And this is a time when there were no lockdowns in the U.S. In overseas, it made 300 million. No, 181 million. Grand total 300.9 million. That's almost as much as Sonic made this year. And also behind all the five of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies is yes, it's one of the biggest budgeted movies of that time. Before Cutthroat Island and Pirates of the Caribbean, yeah. It ended up making a profit of 50 million for the studio, yet it was still declared a financial disappointment. Really? You wanted this to make a billion back in 1991 when there were movies that didn't do that yet. One of the first films in the 90s to make $1 billion was Titanic. And that's a remake of a remake of a remake of a remake in the past. And yet, that was James Cameron's biggest film until he did Avatar. And I'm like, that movie was boring. This movie isn't boring. There's some slow spots in the middle. And like I said, there's some singing in it in the beginning of the movie. And then I forgot to mention uh, Maggie, yeah, the little girl that she doesn't act anymore. Her and Jack are like they're not actors anymore, but they're fine in the movie. She has a scene where she sings, and the pirates are like enchanted by her voice. Her voice is okay. Hey, it's not auto tuned to death like Belle's voice in Beauty and the Beast 2017. It said it had been overshadowed by the release of Disney's Beauty and the Beast and decline in box office receipts compared to it. Again, that was a Disney movie. And I love that movie. That's the 1991 version, the superior version over the 2017 version. Spielberg has nothing to be ashamed of, guys. I love this movie. Love it. This is the best version, live action version of Peter Pan I've ever seen. And I haven't seen the 2003 version. Don't ask me, because it's more British, and the cast is way more forgettable than this. You're not going to beat Robin Williams as Peter Pan at an adult version. Just he owns this movie. Also, the film was nominated for five Academy Awards. Where's the Academy Awards for the 2003 version, or Pan from 2015, or whatever version Disney's going to remake next? They're going to make it all CGI. There's some CG here, but it looks fantastic. For 1991, it still looks good to this day. And I get sucked into the world of Neverland. It's just a beautiful map paintings and real locations and the wonder of the oceans and the freaking the costume design is amazing. Tinkerbell's outfit at first is like brownish, but then when she grows later and kisses Peter, she has this gorgeous blue outfit. It matches Elsa's outfit in Frozen. It really does. It looks just like Elsa's outfit, but she's a fairy. And also, yeah, it got a best production design, best costume design. It deserves it. Best visual effects. Lost to T2. I love T2. Best makeup. Yeah, the makeup looks amazing. That I didn't even know that was Glenn Close. Best original song, When You're Not Alone, but it lost to Beauty and the Beast. Again, better films, but this movie is still a good movie. Don't care what anybody says. Cinematography was nominated. Yeah, the beauty movie looks fantastic. They gave a Razzie to Julia Roberts again, guys. She was very depressed at this time. I think she went through a divorce. Was very sad. I can see it in her performance, but she reminds me of my mom, and that's my mom on screen. When I see Julia Roberts, I'm like, that's my cinematic mother. She has my mother's face and the gorgeous smile and the same, almost the same eyes. Look at a picture of my mom, and you'll see. Looks just like her. Legacy. In Spielberg said in 2011, there are parts of Hook I love. Yeah, I'm really proud of the work I run through Peter being hauled into a parachute out the window, headed for Neverland. That's a good visual. I'm a little less proud of Neverland sequences because I'm uncomfortable with the highly stylized world. Again, Pirates of the Caribbean did this 5 times, and those movies declined after the second one. The third one's way too long. It's longer than this movie. The fourth one's good, but it's there's still something missing. I still enjoy it on Stranger Tides. And 5, I hated the 2 leads. I'm sorry, I hated them. They can't act. Brendan Thwaites, who plays what's his face, Robin in the new Titans show on the DC streaming service. I can't stand them. And the other girl, Kala Scaladario, the girl that was in Crawl last year, I don't care about her either. She's just a replacement for for Keira Knightley, who can't act either. But this is not about them. He said, "Yeah, I would probably have done live action character work inside of a completely digital set. Again, it wouldn't have looked as good." And it says Spielberg told in 2018, I felt like a fish out of water making Hook. I didn't have confidence in the script. I had confidence in the first act and confidence in the epilogue. And yeah, there's a lot of moments that the movie makes me feel good when it's over. It's sad that we'll never see a sequel because Robin's no longer with us. But no matter what Spielberg said, it's not his greatest movie, but it's one of my favorite childhood memories. And Thomas Tulik, don't be ashamed of this movie. I really like your performance here. You're a kid. You're cute. You have a whimsical charm. Most of the Lost Boys do. They actually have personalities here. They're not wearing animal suits like in the Disney version, and there's nothing racist in this movie. The Disney version has that are the red man red? Yeah, that song is really really racist. That's why nobody really likes that segment. I thought it was just it was there when I was a kid. I didn't know. I thought all Native Americans at the time were red, but no, they're not. Some of them are brown, some of them are light skinned. We're all different people. Prejudices aside, because this is not a Me Too movement or a woke freaking speech here. I love this movie. I love it, guys. I'm sorry that it's not. It didn't get a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and is hailed as one of the greatest movies of all time. But I love this movie. And after this, Spielberg would do Jurassic Park, so I got nothing to complain about. I love that movie too. The only thing I hate, the only person I can't stand in this movie that worked on it is Kathleen Kennedy because she ruined Star Wars. She ruined everything in the movies and in the freaking prequel and the spin-offs for the past 5 years. The only thing she worked on that was worth a damn in the past 5 years is Mandalorian, and she's not in charge of that. That's why that's freaking awesome. Just like this movie is, because it knows its audience, it goes for it, and it's freaking. It doesn't pander. This movie doesn't either. And I like the look of the movie, and it makes me smile, and I miss a lot of the talent that's in this movie. Compared to other movies that Disney has remade live action, where they're soulless and boring, and they overemphasize the UK actors in those movies, I'm gonna just say keep it like that. It does nothing for me. Beauty and the Beast, I was bored out of my mind. Aladdin, I didn't care about the cast. Lion King is just the same movie, just CGI animation. It's it's well made. The technical people should be proud, but the voice actors they can't act in the movie. The animals don't react. It doesn't look real to me. The faces are just like this. I need soul in a freaking movie. I don't need nothing happening. Just for my sake. Hook has a lot of charm to it. If you've never seen it, watch it. Don't see Pan from 2015 with Hugh Jackman overacting. That's a bad interpretation of the story. Here, it's done well. Is it perfect? No, but I love this movie. And I'm not going to apologize for it. Thanks, guys, for watching. I know this is how my room looks now, but soon my room is going to be illuminated and you'll be able to see my posters again. But this is the best I can do right now. But anyway, Hook is a good movie. I don't care what Spielberg says. He's on and off about it. I loved it. I loved it when I was a kid. I love it as an adult. I even love that I'm friends with one of the actors in the movie, Thomas Tulik. Yeah, I mentioned him a lot because he's a good guy, and I'm glad that he was a part of my childhood. That means a lot more to me than any box office receipts or freaking awards or anything when it comes to this movie. So thanks for the memories, Thomas, and thanks for the memories, Robin Williams. I miss you. I miss Carrie Fisher. I miss Bob Hoskins. A lot of talent that was, that we'll never see again in the industry, but they're always in my memories and in my heart, and I love them. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.